What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. We're going to be discussing the concept of object-oriented programming. So before I do any coding, before I write any code, I tend to go through the concepts of which I want to apply into the application. And then before I do that, I have to make sure I understand it first. So what I tend to do, I normally write it down, make sure I understand what the topic is about, what are the concepts, what are the principles, and what do I need to know about the concept itself. So through this tutorial, we're going to define it. We're going to try to make sense out of what makes object-oriented programming, and we'll do a little bit of example. So for this tutorial, we're going to be building RDP houses. We're going to be following the structure of OOP, and for the examples that we're going to give, we're going to write them using Java programming language. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, let's look at the definition which I got from the internet on what object-oriented programming is. So it tells us object-oriented programming is a paradigm based on the concept of objects and classes. Now, looking at that definition, for someone who just came into development, or as a developer, you try to explain it to someone who doesn't do programming at all, it might come off a bit confusing or intimidating. So let's try to simplify it, right? So they're speaking about two terms, right? When they say object-oriented programming, they're speaking about what? Objects. Object. And what another thing is what? Oriented. Oriented. What does the dictionary tells us about what's an object? So it says it's something that you can see or touch. So basically anything that exists that you can think of, as long as you can see it or touch it, unless if you are a magician, when you can see things and touch things that don't exist. But in this instance, we're referring to things which actually exist that we can see, everyone can see and everyone can touch. Then we speak about oriented. So oriented tells us it's to align in relation. So basically taking things which are related, grouping them together, right? So when you're combining these two, you get aligning things, related things that we can see or touch. Cool. Now that we got that out of the way, let's put back the term programming. So it's a programming pattern. We say pattern because that's how things will be usually done. So it's a programming pattern based on aligning things we can see or touch. Cool. So basically, let's say for example, in our example, we said we're going to use RDP houses, right? What do you need for an RDP houses? You're gonna have windows, you're gonna have doors, all those things are related. Why? Because they form part of what is needed to build a house. Cool. So how can we see that this is using object-oriented programming? How can we see? So for application to be deemed as following object-oriented programming pattern, it must contain something called class. It must also contain objects. It must also contain methods. and also attributes. Must have all of these, right? So before we can define those things, let's talk about our project. In our project, we're building what? RDP houses, right? We're building RDP houses. So before you can build a house, what do? You must create a plan. Why? Why should you build a plan? Why is a plan important before you build a house? It's because it tells us how the house is going to be built, right? It tells us how. It tells us what is needed, right? It tells us how and what is going to be needed, right? And then what must that plan tell us? It must also tell us about the features. Things like your door type, size, the size of the door, the size of the bedroom, the location of the bathroom. Those are the things which your plan must tell us, right? Okay, cool. Now, after you have all of this, what do? You build a house. A house. We have our first RDP house. Thanks to our plan, we managed to build our house based on the plan which we created before we could build. We're still together, né? Okay. Now let's come to the terms. Let's try to define what are these terms. What do they mean when they say class? So we said what? We said when you're building a house, you need a what? You need a plan, also known as a blueprint. So this class is basically that plan, that blueprint. Blueprint. That's what it is. It's going to tell us how an object is going to look like and how it's going to function. Right? Then object is going to be what? It's going to be that RDP house. That will be our object. That's something that exists, that you can see, that you can touch. That's that object. Then we said in our class, we must have what? Features. Things like sizes, right? All those things, they are basically what we call attributes. What is the size of the bedroom? What is the total number of bedrooms? The total number of bathrooms? The size of the window? Those things, they are features of the house. In the application, we call them attributes. All right. So then we have methods. For a method, it's going to tell us how the object is going to behave. So for our example, in our RDP house, we can have a method build, which will tell us how the house is built, how the house is built. Cool. Make sense? All right. Then once we get an understanding of this, we can try to look at a example, a real life coding example. So we're going to take all of this and then translate it into a Java program. Okay guys, so as I've highlighted, we're going to be using Java for our demonstration, and we're going to create the basic class. We said what? We said we're building a house, right? So going to create a class, which is our blueprint, our plan for the house. And what did we say about the house? We said the house must have what? Attributes, right? So we're going to have integer, sorry, we're going to have int number of bedrooms, int number of bathroom. Let's, for interest sake, let's just add the color of the house. Cool. This will be the attributes, the features of the house, right? We need to know how many bedrooms does our RDP house have, number of bathrooms, and we just added the color because they have to look different. RDP houses, they normally look different. Okay, then we're going to have, let's create a basic class, let's call it main. So we're going to use this to create the main method. PMP. Okay, so we're going to create the main method, which is what our application is going to use to start running all the instructions. It's going to create our object, and once our object is created, then we can start changing the attributes to see the color, to get the total number of bedrooms and so forth. Okay, then what did we say about our class? We said a class is a blueprint, right? It's a plan. There's not much happening, so we need to take that blueprint and build a house, right? So we're going to create an object, house equals to new house. Okay, so this is referred to as instantiation. So you're basically taking an object, you're creating an object in memory, but in reality that's you actually building that house. That's what you're doing when you're doing this, because what did we say? An object is something that exists, something you can see, something you can touch. Therefore, what must happen? It must exist. It must move from being a plan or a blueprint, then it must come to life, right? Okay, then from a house, you can give it value. So for the house we're building, let's say you have 2 bedrooms, then house dot bedroom, let's say two bedroom, 1 bathroom, and let's say house dot color, it's going to be what? Yellow. It's yellow. Our house is yellow, right? Then let's print out the results. So what did we say? Number of bedrooms plus house dot get bedroom, bathroom, and color of the house of the walls of the house. Then we get what? Color, and then we get what? Bathroom. Number of bathrooms, yes, number of bathrooms. Okay, let's run it. So what this thing is going to do is, like, you building a house, and once you build a house, you can see the color, you can check inside it if how many bedrooms does it have, and then you can check how many bathrooms does it have. So let's run to see the results. Perfect. We have number of bedrooms. Our house has 2 bedrooms. Our house has 1 bathroom. and the color of our house is yellow. Okay, that's it guys. And I hope now you have a bit of understanding of what OOP is. So on the next video, we will be discussing the basic pillars or principles of object-oriented programming, and I'll catch you in the next video.